Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 276. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. Joining me here as always, except when he's not, is BT Calloway.
Oh, hoi hoi.
And joining us once again, returning champion all the way from beautiful Queensland, is Diana Green.
I'm happy for once.
Hey! Why are you happy? Because we're reviewing Simpsons, and it's not a fucking awful train wreck episode that has been the kind of trend of recent weeks.
It's a car wreck, but...
A car wreck, yeah.
Unless you ask your fan base or read IMDb, in which case it is.
Yes. So let's get into that briefly. So the other week or last week, I put it out there because we'd reviewed The Many Saints of Springfield, an episode which we fucking hated. And
I thought it was okay for the few people that liked it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't hated any of the new episodes that I can think of.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't think I hate them. At their worst, they are like decent-ish or experimental enough that I'm like, okay, I'm glad you didn't put out stagnant noise. You did something.
Yeah, look, our average scores of episodes have been up since season 31. But yeah, we're still finding we have to work our way through the dreck a bit. But as a result, I sort of posted up we've got the best to worst seasons on our website, thesimpsonsindex.com. And I said, we're reviewing an episode that was so bad, it's tanked season 34's overall rating to like 2 places lower to like 19th best season or something.
Yeah.
It's still quite low. But anyway, and I was like, hey, viewers out there, listeners out there, can you guess what episode this might be? And we got some replies. One from Nickenstein _ on, I believe this was Instagram. He said, I'm guessing either When Nelson Met Lisa or Homer's Adventures Through the Windshield Glass or Pingal, which another episode I haven't seen, but...
I've seen Pingal and I don't remember it, so that's not a great thing.
But I mean, if you hated it, you'd remember.
I also kind of liked the Nelson episode.
Yeah, it's like a future jump one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm just thinking, like, I don't care about the official continuity or canon. Just put something on the screen for 20 minutes that makes me not sad.
I mean, it's fair enough, because, yeah, the Simpsons chronology now is all over the place. You may as well just start having fun with it.
Yeah, for our sake, we've just had to go, sure, time bubble, whatever.
Time bubble.
But then it didn't stop there. Over on our Twitter page, Lynx Maxwell said, Homer's Adventures? That has to be one of the absolute worst Simpsons episodes ever made. I'd rather watch the Lisa Goes Gaga episode than that pile of trash.
Wow.
And then Samuel One Kenobi also just said on Twitter, Homer's Adventures Through the Windshield Glass, right? And I'm like, fuck, we got to check out this episode. So when I asked Diana, hey, we've made you watch some crap. What's a good episode you'd like to watch?
I picked out this episode not knowing its reputation.
Interesting.
And yeah, then I shared those screenshots and I'm like, all right, rubbing my hands, let's get into a polarizing episode.
For the record,
Discourse.
you gave me a list of episodes I could do, and I was like, God damn it, every episode I want to do, you've already done.
Yeah.
Or it isn't Halloween yet.
Stay tuned for more info.
There are so many good ones that you've just immediately done. I won't say this is like a top tier episode of the season, but I would still put it in the higher parts of the last few seasons. And it's one of the most memorable episodes as well, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking about Simpsons these days, a lot of just shaking up the format and trying different things, and this one certainly does that. So let's get into the preamble. This was Season 34, Episode 22, Homer's Adventures Through the Windshield Glass. First released in May of 2023, it was directed by Bob Anderson, written by Tim Long. This episode...
Oh, you forgot to say it's the 750th episode.
Oh, what gave it away that it was the 750th episode?
To be fair, when I first watched this episode, I think I just turned my head during that opening and I didn't actually notice that it said on screen.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, they just put extra characters in the opening. That's cute, I guess. And then I didn't see the text there. So I didn't actually realize it was the 750th until like a week ago.
You know what? Throughout that couch gag, normally we don't really get into the couch gags, but yeah, this one, for, I guess, the 750th episode, they were like, we will not try to cram 750 characters into this opening, so said the chalkboard. And then they did, and I was like, you know what, this is cute. I'm getting glimpses of occasional characters like, that guy. Oh yeah, her.
Deep pulls.
But then it gets to the couch, and then Homer's like, who the hell are these people? And I'm like, fuck you. You just couldn't be nice, like, could you?
I'm glad that's the last mean thing Homer does during this whole episode.
Phew.
Yeah, I don't know, because it was so nice and simple. Like, it was just the character standing in the background of otherwise the opening crawl, and it was like, yeah, like just a nice sort of thing to revisit, and then just that fucking line just really...
Yeah, fair.
As for the episode itself, so it starts out, Homer's very mad at Marge about something, and he's angry texting, and he gets in his car, and he's so full of rage, and then all of a sudden he hits a fire hydrant, and then time slows down. And this episode then takes place mostly in Homer's fantasy over the course of like the 2 seconds
fantasy.
or whatever. Not fantasy?
It can't be. He learns far too much information he had no access to for this to be his own mind.
And Ralph is very privy to
We
stuff.
learn Ralph's got some kind of Shinnin power going on.
Indeed. Hey, y'all, what do we think?
I like it. That's why I picked this episode.
I don't hate it.
That's good. You're nicer than most people who saw it.
That said, I understand why people do hate it. Like, I don't want to call it a mess, but it's not a mess. It's coherent, but it's also very random and
Very experimental.
off. Yeah, experimental is probably the kind word. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, while you're mumbling through your opinions there, like, elaborate more, Diana. Why this one in particular? Why is this a standout of this season?
For starters, it is a very memorable episode. You won't forget this. Whereas Pin Gals, I don't remember what that is. I've seen it, so I wouldn't pick that one.
I'm guessing it's Team Homer bowling, but women.
I'm pretty sure it's about bowling. That's all I
Lisa
remember.
starts collecting pins, although I think they've done that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a very memorable episode. It has some very, in my opinion, very funny lines sometimes. There's like some actual good comedic writing in here. It adds a lot to the lore of a certain character in the show that we never really see, Mr. Bouvier. And mostly, something I've noticed with a lot of the like season 33 onwards episodes is they usually have some really pretty animation for like a scene or two, but most of this episode is that really pretty animation. The whole slow motion effect and the stuff they do with it, and like you see like the glass and it'll have like a scene on it and it's transparent and it's very well done. You see like both sides of the glass when like Bart and Lisa are talking to Homer through his imagination. There's a lot of like artistry put in here, and I just think it's good for that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
It also makes Ralph the creepiest character in the show.
Yeah, still don't know how I feel about that one, but
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I was watching this with my partner the first time I saw it, and every time this happened, we just had to like laugh about it because it's, I don't know, it's very out of place, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like that Ralph gets the 3-parter. Like, I was not quite sure what his first line was. Like,
His was, Bart's bald mummy is going to die.
Okay, is that what it was?
And-
I'm like, sports Bob mommy? What the hell is he saying?
Then Homer says that's her problem, and I kind of like that Homer didn't even pick up on.
Yeah. And then I do like when, spoiler, I guess, it turns out Homer's not soaring through the air. He's already dead. And then Ralph has a line of, I'm going to see this in every dream.
Yeah.
And then, of course, naturally, Homer goes to hell for 20,000 years. And, when he comes back, Ralph just says, you died and went to hell. Ralph knows. I'm like, okay, I like that we got a little, that was the consistency throughout of Ralph just having different observations on this situation.
I think I liked the last line significantly more than the first two.
Oh, yeah, me too. If it wasn't for that last one, I would have discounted the other two.
It's the opposite. It got better with each one.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of an extra beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird, right?
It's like they actually knew what the rule of 3 was, which The Simpsons hasn't done very well lately.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and actually this episode, when I was doing my research, got me down a little bit of a rabbit hole because Tim Long was nominated by the WGA for the Writers Guild Award in Writing for Animation, which made me look, who won? And it was like, it was another Simpsons episode. Carl Carlson writes again. And then the other...
Which is another good episode, and one I was almost considering.
Right. And yeah, there were another 2 Simpsons episodes, and I forget what the other thing was, but it got me thinking, anytime that the WGA Awards come up, a lot of Simpsons get nominated, and I think there's a series or a deep dive to look into there because, yeah, over the history of the WGA, like, they really favor The Simpsons in the animation category where it's just objectively untrue that they are putting forth at least 4 nomination-worthy episodes per season. Although this one was quite good. I'm sure with a cursory glance I could find better animation that was released in the year this was. Not to rag on the episode too much, because I know you do like it. But
after reading the IMDb reviews yesterday, you are still the second nicest person I've seen to the episode. Each your third.
Yay!
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I really appreciate the animation on this, and it's so often, that we harp on The Simpsons for not using the animation space effectively or cleverly, and I think this is an episode that really did look good. I think the glass effects and the slow motion and stuff was well done. And yeah, while I'm mixed on the material of the episode, I feel mostly positive about it. I feel like, yeah, it didn't all work, but you know what? I was there for the ride on this one. I was there for the ride through the windshield glass.
Yep. The hurtling through the sky.
Yeah. Well, let's hook into it and, dissect this. Let's break apart this car wreck. Let's get in crime scene investigation mode and see how this car wreck took place. That's what I was trying to get to. BT, what's a moment that stands out to you?
I mean, I got a lot of stars because there's a lot of things to talk about. Maybe there's one we just need to get out of the way, and that's the Gooby Woo in the room.
Yeah. So, one of the guest stars of this episode, Lizzo, lends her vocal
the guest star for this one.
Yeah. Lends her talents playing Gooby Woo, so we get to see a celebrity play a character until she doesn't play a character and she plays herself.
Yeah, good lord, that final clip.
So Gooby Woo is one of the happy little elves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why the character is named.
Yes. Should have
It's
probably pointed
Homer's
that out.
kind of like subconscious
Yeah.
while he's dying, or is his like spirit guide or something.
Yeah, it's got to be not even Space Coyote, because Space Coyote at least, had the whole line of, I'm just your memory, Homer. I can't provide you any new information.
But she does say, the reason you could see that is because you're a ghost. So that does explain that this is all 100% canonical, and that's the only reason he saw that all.
It's not the first time Homer's died, gone to the afterlife, learned a lesson, and come back, which...
Yeah.
Good lord. But at least, other times, if you think of, Bart gets hit by a car, you never really get the sense that he definitely goes to hell, or if that was just, a coma dream. It's maybe suggested. It's a suggestion. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
This is definite, or at least in terms of Homer's lesson learned, it's definite. Either that or his mind has set up. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's definite in the same way that The Simpsons definitely went to King and Curtis's planet that one time and it pissed off all the fans.
That's the thing.
I kind of treat these as the same kind of thing. Just stop caring about what is 100% canonical and just enjoy the silly cartoon.
I can try, but...
No, I get what you're saying, though. In terms of the episode as well, there's a lot of, you wouldn't have access to this information. Why is it playing out for you right now? Yeah, I understand it from that angle.
And also, most points of, plot reveal or character development come from someone... With the information Homer doesn't have, Homer just gets told the information from someone else directly through no progression of his own, I suppose. It's like, hi, you're flying through the air after a car crash and you're going to have revelations now. Which, I'm going to make more indiscriminate noises.
Argue with Gooby Woo.
Oh, I will argue with Gooby Woo.
Well, yeah, so that's was where you started with your moment with the Gooby Woo in the room. How did we think Lizzo did in this role?
Not good. Her song sucks and she's not a great voice actor.
Oh, dang. What do you reckon, Diana?
I liked it. I liked the song. When I first saw this episode, I didn't know who played Gooby Woo until the end credits where they spell it out incredibly obviously, which is a scene I don't like. But I like this. And a lot of people complain that this is basically the next Lisa Goes Gaga or something, and I'm just thinking no. Gooby Woo could have been played by anyone.
Yeah.
They used the talents, even if Beach disagrees, they used the talents of someone, put in a song of their style. But, this could have been anyone. This could have been
Yeah, it wasn't.
Didn't even have to be a celebrity, but The Simpsons have done way more egregious stuff than this.
Yeah, the celebrities we complain about tend to be, Lizzo, what are you doing in Springfield? Whereas
Which is the end credits.
Which is why that's weird, and I don't know why that's there. But at least this was, portraying a character. And to be clear, I don't think her singing on the song sounds bad. I just think the lyrical content of it and the vibe of it is stupid. It's all just, Homer's mad at Marge because she's been getting this. Her father left her a trust that gives her $1,000 extra a month, and then we go through this kind of montage of what's she been doing with the money. It's always bailing Homer out of trouble, and it's just, that was Marge, bitch. And it's like, what? And then, to end it with, woohoo, Gooby Woo in the house. I'm like, that's...
It was a little cringe at times, especially when Homer gets a verse. It is also weird hearing... bitch that much in The Simpsons, even though
that caught me off guard the most.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. It's just sort of in the way that it's sort of said, and the frequency was just okay.
Yeah, and also, when I say she's not a good voice actor, she's not a voice actor. This is not what she does. So it's not bad, but it's okay.
I'm going to push back on you on that one. I thought she was all right. I'm actually not super familiar with Lizzo's music, but I have seen a couple of the acting things she did. A few months ago, me and my girlfriend watched that episode of The Mandalorian that her and Jack Black were in, and I thought she was quite good. And especially, standing side by side with Jack Black, which, say what you will about him now, I've certainly said a few things. He is an acting powerhouse, and for her not to be overshadowed or shown up, and that she stood toe to toe with him. And it's I don't know, her performance didn't really bother me in this one, and
that didn't bother me, it just didn't stand out. And at a certain point, especially, there's a part where the people in hell are getting transferred out, and someone just says, well, it's about damn time. Oh, that's who the voice actor is.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, at least the song was a lot quicker than a lot of parody songs they do these days.
I will give it that. Yeah.
And, it got the information across. There weren't really any jokes, but, it was fine. Yeah, I felt like I had another thing to say, but I don't, so I'll move on. Diana, what's a moment for you that stands out for better or worse?
I really there's one joke in here that I've actually thought about this before I saw this episode. I was wouldn't that be a neat concept if this was something that actually happened in real life? And I'm glad The Simpsons read my mind and stole it for profit.
As they do.
It's the idea that in hell... people that were deemed bad now go to heaven, and people that were in heaven go to hell by constant societal changes.
Yeah. I did.
And that is a really funny joke, and I'm really glad The Simpsons did that.
Apparently, Lizzo pitched the line about all the people who were demonized for being gay from 5,000 years ago to 10 years ago can now go to heaven. Apparently, Lizzo pitched that.
Oh yeah.
So
it's the best joke in the episode.
Yeah, Tim Long and
she
Lizzo
should write season 36.
Yeah, look, let's go.
Yeah. You can do it all, Lizzo. Writer, performer, actor, do it all.
Why not? Loudest.
And yeah, apparently she improvised the saxophone line in the post-credits thing. So, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's the other thing I was going to come back to. So, yeah, we the episode ends with Gooby Woo going, this is the end of the episode. Bye, everybody. And then,
that's the end, bitch. Just in case you haven't got enough bitches yet.
That's it.
It would make a good drinking game, let's face it.
The bitch drinking game for this episode.
Yeah, see how long he can last.
Absolutely getting plastered in the middle of the episode with the song, and then enough spirit to take you through to the end. But yeah, so after they say this is the end, we're trained as new Simpsons watchers. No, it's not. They've got another scene up their sleeves.
Yeah, we know.
So, yeah, it cuts to the vocal recording booth of Lizzo and Homer recording dialogue for the episode.
Yeah.
And Bart and Lisa there are directing it. And then they're like, okay, we got to get you slapping Homer for Foley. And it's it's okay if you don't want to, I'll do it. And then Bart starts slapping Homer. Then he does it rhythmically. Then Lizzo's like, this beat is fire.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming we've all seen some of the Disney shorts. This is
I actually
pretty much
haven't.
one
I've
of those.
avoided those.
I would recommend avoiding them. They are pretty bad.
I know we're just going to have to in the future, but I'm delaying
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
running out of Simpsons content, you're going to have to
true.
I know.
either give up or go into the comics.
Give up,
and you'll
you
never
say?
fucking finish.
Yeah, and so we get this little bit of Lizzo going, yeah, this beat of Bart slapping his father is fire. Lisa, grab your saxophone and I'll get my flute, whatever its name is. And then the episode just ends on this weird fucking Charlie Brown Snoopy ass fucking song sequence that was a cringe way to end the episode, and like, I don't know. Wasn't funny to me. How about you guys?
Oh, good lord.
You
no.
know, I hated it, but
Oh, good. At least we're aligned there.
Like, yeah, like as we said, the biggest highlight of having her a good highlight of having her as a guest star is that she's playing a character, not, the thing we hate, where it's just the celebrity comes and they play themselves in Springfield. And this is the opposite of that. It's like they had to for some reason.
Yeah, fully.
And yeah, I think we all agree it was bad.
Yeah.
I do like that it implies that Homer, Bart, and Lisa voice themselves.
Which is, yeah, they do their own ADR after they've performed in the what does...
Yeah,
I'm not going to think about it and just try and enjoy my silly cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. That is the most, like, brain-exploding part of the episode. Ignore all the time processing and hell and everything.
Yeah. And the Gooby Woo in the house, bitch. Yeah.
And what stands out to me, look, I think it's the other needle drop of this episode, which, I'm sorry, KFC commercials have kind of ruined this song for me.
What was this?
Yeah.
So it's once again in Homer's imagination, like, yeah, the information that Marge's father had in his will to pay out Marge $1,000 per week. He's gotten that information, and he's imagining what she's possibly doing with the money. And he imagines like a robo-butler bringing a caviar hoagie, little sneaky sandwich index there.
Oh, yeah.
And then, hiring sexy handyman. And then I Don't Care, I Love It song comes on. I don't care.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's the same for any international listeners, but especially on like YouTube or like video streaming sites, it's the same fucking ad. It's like, did someone say KFC? I don't care.
And everyone's eating chicken and have a great time.
Or they rip off Futurama and say, shut up and take my money.
I know, that made me so angry.
They did do that for a bit, didn't they?
For quite a while. And look, I know it's not fair to call that cultural appropriation, but... It's the most culture I have.
I've never rooted for Disney in any kind of legal action, but...
Yep.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, corporations don't mean fucking sell me your fucking chicken, but like, let's not get Fry involved.
Yeah, exactly. Futurama's been through enough.
Little tiny nitpick aside, that is not the episode's fault. So let's talk more about the episode. How was the wackiness in it?
It was pretty wacky.
Oh, yeah.
Gwee gooby woo.
Ralph alone makes this wacky. This is like Pods in the Key of Springfield, where it's all a deaf dream.
Yes.
This actually is.
Or Dr. Colossus.
They need to come back and just do this episode.
Yeah.
Be so vindicated.
Dr. Colossus interrupts the space-time continuum. That's how we can have Homer simultaneously flying through the air, but also doing very many actions.
We have not seen Dr. Colossus and Clancy Bouvier in the same room at the same time.
I mean...
Was Dr. Colossus in the opening? I need to check.
Ooh, I wonder.
You say Pods in the Key of Springfield need to come back. Some say they never stopped.
Oh. Yeah, so how about, like, especially that opening of Homer flying through the air? How do we like all that wacky animation moments?
I like it. He had a switch in his...
You'd assume that was a switch. Hey, I think he's got some third-party ass controllers on it, but...
Swatch.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Look, there's a bit I'm going to have to steer to a negative here, sorry.
Go for it.
So basically, when there's, when Homer goes to hell, they're all like, but why? And he's like, well, it was all the 7 deadly sins you committed in the last 2 seconds of your life. And then goes to a flashback of him flying through the air, like stealing Ralph's ice cream and ogling a woman as he flies through. And I thought this was such a wasted opportunity because in the scenes right before he crashes, he's like trying to find his cell phone and there's the seat's covered with all this stuff. And so I thought it was going to be, gluttony because he has all these wrappers all over his car, the sloth of having never cleaned his car, the, wrath of being angry at Marge when she, he's always been irresponsible with money, that kind of, everything in him driving that we see at the very beginning was a better illustration of his faults than this thing they made up after he went through the windshield, which we didn't see.
See, I kind of disagree, but I wish they went harder into it. Because my favorite part of that is that he just flies past a payphone and tries to see if there's any change in there, which is such a pointless thing to do when you're near death.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish they leaned way heavier into all the kinds of the pointlessness and extreme. I remember taking an ice cream or looking at a woman isn't as funny to me as what could have been there.
Yeah, I think the lust and the pride ones like were really you like, and you
checks
really
himself in a mirror, in the reflection of a window when he's flying past, and
because
that's not Homer.
I could have taken the stealing. What's that sin again? Greed. Yeah. The greed and the gluttony ones. I think those were funny jokes. But yeah, I think there was more opportunities to like plant the seeds for that one retroactively and then have, 2 or 3 of the 7 deadly sins be jokes that we didn't like already see play out. Because I like that idea of
I didn't commit this sin. Oh yeah, what about this? And then it cuts to like a joke. That would have been fine. Have like 2 or 3 joke ones.
Because I think that was the conceit of a good idea, but like it didn't totally land for me.
Unlike Homer, who did land.
Eventually.
Actually, speaking of wackiness, how was that moment where he was like, because, most of the first act and a half, he's like careening towards a tree. And then during the song, he just starts slightly veering off that course. And I thought that was done in a clever way where he even incorporated a part of the song. It was just like, oh, hey, I flew past the tree. Awesome. But then, how was that moment cutting back to seeing him actually impaled on a fucking fence?
Savage.
That's like Treehouse of Horror level stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just blue tongue hanging out, pale as anything, fence railing through his chest. It's brutal.
I'm just going to say, have either of you two ever been in a car crash before? Like
Yep.
one that's severe?
Yeah. I still have that fence paling.
Yeah, because I thankfully haven't, but when I watched this with my partner months ago, she was commenting on, she had one as a teenager, and it felt like the whole world had slowed down, and that like couple seconds lasted forever.
All right.
And that's like a thing I've heard from other people who have had near-death moments. Like that is a kind of shared phenomenon that people seem to have. And I do like that they incorporated that into the structure of this episode.
Yeah, that's totally what I really appreciate about this one, in that they've set themselves a challenge. Okay, how do we do an episode that mostly takes place over the course of 1 or 2 seconds? And that's totally a great idea for that, especially...
Takes place over a couple seconds and 20,000 years.
A little bit of each.
Yeah, let's not forget the hell timeline of it all, so I like that they rose up to that challenge, and you're right, especially for these sort of traumatic moments like a car crash, because like even like one of the least worst car crashes I've been in was, I got rear-ended by somebody. Even then that was just like, everyone was fine, but that moment of impact was like so loud in the car, and it was like a slow speed rear-ending. Like it was like, even that one alone, like I replay the moment in my mind, and it does feel like it takes forever. And
did a whole song and dance during it as well.
It was so dramatic. My Switch with my third-party controllers went absolutely flying.
You wouldn't get third-party controllers.
I absolutely wouldn't.
You couldn't afford Lizzo. You had a different celebrity.
What's Australia's Lizzo?
You got Dave Hughes.
Yeah. You got to think about your actions.
It's pretty good, David Hughes.
Or else you're not going to be alive, like the snake's alive.
That joke won't make sense to anyone outside Australia. Thankfully.
It's fun. Like, he has like tried to make a go of it in America, and he keeps saying the same thing. Can you talk differently? Like, well, anyway, like there's lots of animations to talk about with this one, but let's move over briefly to the heart. How was the heart of this episode? Did we feel the emotions?
Almost.
From Marge's point of view, I did.
Yeah.
I will also say, in this episode's defense, because I see people instantly dismiss this as jerk-ass Homer, and he is definitely a jerk-ass during quite a chunk of it, but it's more so we start the story kind of in medias res, where he just basically found out that his wife had a secret going on for ages involving money, and he is just having one of those instinctive angry response. Yeah. And, I'm sure, maybe not to that degree, but we've all had like those kind of moments where we just get like really angry. And that's what this episode fundamentally is. It's just like a quick moment of anger. But Homer's not a jerk-ass. He's just a guy that, like, learned something really unpleasant.
Yeah, I had the same kind of reactions. Like, initially I was like, oh, I wonder what he's angry about. And when I found out, I'm like, that's it. But then I'm like, no, you would,
Yeah, like, think about it from your point of view.
Yeah, if you've been financially struggling for years, even though they don't do that as much with The Simpsons anymore, and then you find out there's been this money the whole time and she never told you, you'd be mad, and then you would calm down eventually and realize,
And Homer would have calmed down if he, like that would have been a normal thing that, And we all just have those moments. Not to that degree, we don't all send eggplant emoji.
Yeah, because he hates eggplants.
I liked that joke
Yeah,
a lot, actually.
that's one of my favorite jokes. It is.
Yeah, like, I think they do justify that because I had the same sort of initial response is like, oh, that's what you're so angry over. But also it's Homer. I don't quite put it in the jerk-ass category
And
because...
he kicks we open the episode of him kicking things, so it's not a good first impression.
Oh, and fuck me, I liked this joke where he takes the kick me sign off Martin, puts it on his bag, then kicks that.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And Martin's like, the contents of my bag, no. And then Nelson's like, my kick me sign. Like,
Yeah.
I love the idea Nelson was really proud of that one.
Good penmanship, very clear.
Yeah, he probably got kicked a lot that day.
And I'm glad Homer didn't physically kick a child.
Exactly. He had at least enough emotional restraint.
Anger to kick something, but enough restraint to be like, no, not the child.
Just the, whatever the food
Contents
I'm presuming.
of his lunchbox.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so I don't quite put this in the jerk-ass Homer category because I think, yeah, this is just a reaction and this is more him being, very irresponsible with how he's driving right now. But, like, I do feel like it justifies itself over the course of the episode and gives him a little bit of growth along the way.
Yeah, sure.
Even if like those parts of the thing are a bit illogical, but like, how about the whole Clancy Bouvier sort of angle of this episode?
Yeah, look, there's kind of a thing where when Homer's in hell, he bumps into Marge's dad, and Marge's dad shows him, oh, look, in the future, which is confusing because Homer's dead at this point, but all right. Lisa's going to bring home this guy, and you're not going to like him, which brings me to my...
Also, sorry, it was the future, but it was 20,000 years before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
They're on different timelines.
Nope, just gonna try and shake that off. All right, but I am gonna dip into the Jordan's Anna corner.
Jordan's in a corner.
This future jump, whatever it is. Lisa's dating a guy who designs board games, and he's got like a D6 on his shirt. That D6 is wrong. The opposing side.
Maybe he's one of those guys that has an ironic shirt.
Like, it's possible. I can't rule it out. But the opposing sides of any dice are usually the maximum number of that dice plus 1. So every side of a properly made D6 will be equal to 7.
But maybe not.
But he's got
15 years in the future. Whatever that is.
They
Maybe.
reinvent the D6.
I'm just saying, this is the here and now, and that shirt is wrong. The 4 and the 3 were next to each other, is my point.
I'm glad that's the biggest issue of the episode.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse. Well, I'll take this moment to point out the guest star of this episode. There's a few. But Tim Robinson is playing this board game guy.
Oh.
And do you guys like Tim Robinson? He does the sketch show I Think You Should Leave.
Oh, I was thinking of someone else.
I've seen moments of him. He seems fine, but I don't know him well enough. Whenever a clip becomes popular enough that it enters
I think I was thinking of Tim Robbins.
enters the vocabulary of friends or people who I watch online, that's about it. So I only know like 3 of his segments off the top of my head.
Yeah, like I'll try not to harp on it too much, but he's one of those guys that I don't get why people see in him. Like I've watched every fucking episode I Think You Should Leave, and I just always walk away with, why do people think this is funny? Like
You're like Marge's dad in this situation.
very much. I think this guy's a loser, and I want to give his future wife $1,000 a week.
Yep. Look, the whole thing concludes with Homer kind of realizing that, no matter how old and dead we get, we just want to make sure our little girls are okay. And I'm like, you have a son, but okay.
But he doesn't care.
He'll be some loser that's father-in-law will be paying his wife.
Make sure our children are okay. Cover all bases. Why not?
And sorry, I called him Clancy before. His name is Clarence Bouvier.
I thought it was Clancy Bouvier because that had come up before in weird lore, like external Simpsons things like guidebooks and stuff.
That he was called Clancy?
I believe so, which is like why it's confusing because there's a Clancy Wiggum. Yeah, Clancy is his name. I looked it up on Simpsons Wiki and the others. One of the Simpsons Wiki says Clancy. The Wiki Simpsons one says Clarence, but then it says Clancy Bouvier. So Clancy's a nickname.
Sure, Clancy is short for Clarence.
But
so.
It's one of those things where, like, presumably decades ago, back when Matt Groening cared, he drew like a family tree of the Simpsons and like made up a bunch of names of people we'd never see. And Marge's dad was called Clancy back then.
There we go. So yeah, this is definitely far and away the most substantial role that Clarence Bouvier has ever played in an episode.
Yeah, he's one that we need a bit more of because, yeah, he's had like 4 episodes.
Yeah. Well, because I remember it being such a big thing when Homer's mother was revealed, because it was just one of these not talked about subjects on The Simpsons. And, to go to another favorite show, Bob's Burgers, they kind of do this with Bob as well, with his mum, where it's just implied she's died, but they never really focus on it until they do the episodes.
Quite a good episode where they do.
Yeah, and it's really emotionally effective. That one where, they're trying to find her grave and Linda finds it on her own and she has a moment with her, which is really, quite inspired. Was this episode quite inspired with its use of Clarence Bouvier?
It was fine.
Okay, I like that we got more of him and that it does line up more or less with the way we was. Like, they didn't rewrite his character like they did for Fear of Flying. Sorry, I just find it funny, but if you're on the Simpsons wiki, his picture is him in hell.
It's maybe not the profile pic you want, but it's the one you got. So the other heart moment I did quite like is after, Homer comes back from hell and is only severely injured in the car crash. He's not dead. The rest of the Simpson family pull up, and so Marge gets out, and then Bart and Lisa get out, and they all run to Homer, but Maggie just gets out and picks up Gooby Boo and just has a nice little moment hugging that. It's like, yeah, that's all the baby would care about. That's fine. That was your heart.
But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Are these the characters we know and love? Is this the show we know and love?
No.
I don't know. If I say no, this doesn't feel like a Simpsons episode, I do not mean that in a bad way. I'd mean that this is a very different experimental kind of episode.
Yeah, and we've said that a lot about 35, is they're definitely swinging for the fences more.
I haven't seen the Fargo parody episode. I haven't seen that. But I would say that's probably another one that is probably good that doesn't feel like The Simpsons.
Yeah, definitely. It's not... Does it feel... Is it inherently bad or good because of that? I don't know. I sort of feel like this is an episode, the premise that they could have done back in the classic era. I don't think there's anything obviously the Fargo show didn't
little
exist.
Little baby Lizzo back when she was...
Yeah.
Well, that'd be adorable.
Yeah, I don't know. Who would have been back then?
Probably can't play flute as a baby, but...
No, that's true.
I don't know how...
And there's never been a famous flute player other than her.
No.
Yeah. Anyone disagrees? Try and name it.
Although I saw the band Speed the other day. Have you guys heard of the band Speed?
The bus that couldn't slow down.
I was thinking
someone
it.
pitched that to them. They're a Sydney hardcore band, but the lead singer in a couple of songs just bust out a flute.
Was Lizzo.
Yeah.
In disguise.
Anyway, so I don't know. I don't feel like character integrity was off, especially talking about Clarence before. Yeah, we don't exactly have the great idea of his character.
You can't really break his character because we don't know enough about it.
But this makes sense enough to me, his justification.
Never liked Homer, and we know he never liked Homer, so yeah.
He was always warning me about various doors and not to get my butt.
I was about to say that, yeah.
I did like that line. It was like, when Homer says, but I thought he liked me. I'm like, no, you didn't. And then they had that line, I'm like, okay, you saved it. Well done.
Yeah.
For all the criticisms people have online about this episode, I do think there are enough jokes that we've just been saying during this recording. I do think this is a funny episode. Not top tier funny, but there's a lot of jokes that will stick with me.
Yeah. But yes or no, would you watch this episode again?
Only to further discuss, academic reasons.
I honestly see myself at least being intrigued enough by its ideas, and I wish to subscribe to its newsletter. But, of course, no episode is perfect. What would you like to change, BT?
I want to stay in the crash. This is a Tim Long episode, and it feels a whole lot like one because it has just a sudden and dramatic pivot. Think of the episode with Duncan, which we quite liked up until the point where demon jockeys show up and it got baffling. Similarly, the one where Homer's preparing for the end of the world and then the world does actually end and he goes up to heaven. I can't remember if that's a Tim Long or not, but it's just this hard pivot. It's no, I like the idea of Homer learning a lesson as he's hurtling through the air. I would rather just kind of stay there and have Homer reflect on some of his own memories, or have Gooby Woo, show him the other side of the conversation that isn't the way he remembered it, but maybe a bit of that perspective and then you could have a degree of debate on, okay, so is Gooby Woo him just kind of calming down in these 2 seconds and trying to understand some perspective on everything. But for that, you'd probably need to maybe change the inciting incident. Maybe not. You could fiddle with it differently, but I think when Homer goes to hell, it's such a hard pivot. You're like, oh, we're doing this now, right? And yeah, I think it's worse off for it.
But we wouldn't get as much Clancy Bouvier without the hell.
That's true.
Well, you can get a different version of Clancy. All Homer's memories of.
How about you, Diana? What would you like to change about this one?
Or get rid of the end credits. And
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. I forgot about that.
Unanimous? Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind the hell in here, but once again, I have to, like, admit to myself, like, this show doesn't make sense and hasn't made sense for decades, and it's a battle to try to make it make sense. This is just like the King and Kodos episode. It just if I just ignore the laws of like reality, I think the hell segment has enough jokes or moments in it that I like, so I'm not gonna tamper with that. I would just like maybe just a little more heart, maybe more Marge scenes of Homer really seeing like what Marge is going through with this.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea also with Marge's like Homer is imagining what Marge will do with the money, and we already said we hate the scene for like its song and everything. But I do kind of find it funny that like Marge's idea is to hire like these sexy men just to do the cleaning. I kind of wish they like just doubled down on that joke and just didn't linger on it nearly as much.
Yeah.
But this is more of like a tighten up episode where I like the structure. I don't hate the ending, except for the credits ending. I would just like put it through maybe a couple more drafts.
Absolutely.
Nothing too substantial.
Yeah, and I would say the flip of mine is maybe get to hell faster or just one or the other. It feels like it's just the hard pivot is what I'm having trouble with.
If this was like a live action show, this would be like a bottle episode kind of. And I kind of like that the episode it's basically, you know, the equivalent of like 2 sets.
Yeah.
And I like the amount of time we get in hell. Granted, the material on hell I think is less good. I wish they made more jokes just about hell. Like we were saying earlier, the funniest joke in the episode is just about human understanding of like what is good and bad changing over time. Do more stuff like that. And maybe less Tom Selleck is here in hell. It's actually Stalin. There were some duds here.
I like that one.
Oh.
That was one of the few audible laughs I got.
And yeah, what I'd change in this episode, I think there might be a neater way to write it that makes more sense to the way that Homer gets the information. Like,
yeah, mixed feels on the snarky bank owner.
Oh, yeah. One of the other guests for this episode, Bowen Yang, who's actually one of ours, specifically one of Brisbane's, in fact.
Right.
I think he's a regular on SNL now, I think I was reading. Yeah.
There are people that aren't Kenan Thompson on SNL. Wow.
Right? Even Australians now. They let us in there.
We had, after Elon Musk, we had to get him first, and then like, oh God, we'll take anyone.
But I didn't mind his, like, eye-rolling and, oh, tell me more at Homer's chip story where, yeah, the whole reason Homer wants to open a safety deposit box is he found a chip that looked really uncannily like John Travolta, actually.
It is weird that like he didn't really care about it when Marge's Aunt Gladys had her whole
the chips look like famous people.
One of those didn't... Wait, no, I was going to say one of them looked like John Travolta. It wasn't. It was Jay Leno.
It was Jay Leno.
Maybe they look the same on profiles.
They all look the same on chips.
Never seen them in the same room at the same time. So.
No. So yeah, I think there's a neater way for Homer to like retroactively think back on events and then get the information that way. And I think there's another element to this Marge getting $1,000 per week story that I think would maybe lean into the whole Homer's a jerk-ass in this episode theory is that according to this episode, like every time Homer gets injured or in trouble or whatever, Marge is using this money to bail him out. I really just would like it if there was just like Homer remembers back and like, oh, she got a new purse that one time and I didn't pay for it, or yeah, she got a nice dress or something. Like,
yeah, the few times she's not bailing him out and does something nice for herself or for the kids.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just an easy story thing. Yeah, she also bails me out, but she also does nice things for herself, and so she should. Like, yeah.
I think at first that would make him really angry, and then you would realize, oh no, she deserves that.
Exactly, and I think that's just a neat way to make him less of a jerk-ass in this episode, which I think is something that people probably do have a problem with, and fair enough.
They do. I read too much.
Well, we're the only opinion that matters anyway over here on the Simpsons Index.
The incident that started everything, I do like the kind of non-linear way we find this. The information gets like doled out to us. So we start with Homer just being angry, and then we find out why, and then we find out what what's been happening with Marge's money, and it's just like piece by piece.
Yeah, same. That's why I think it's like, I didn't think it would have taken much work to then do more sort of retroactive storytelling like that. And
yeah, that's pretty much what you're here for. It's in the present, he's hurtling through the skies, so you can't do anything in the present, so it should all be memory and retroactive storytelling and yada yada.
Yeah. But I think it's time for our final notes.
These are notes, bitch.
Yes, they are. Diana, do you have any other notes from this episode you want to mention before we move on to the rankings?
There are some more lines that I just really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Gooby Woo says that we're going to have to work through all this anger, and Homer says, work? That sounds like work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that one.
I like that. That's
I dig it.
something I'll probably start saying. During the scene where Bart and Lisa's memories of them or whatever are talking to Homer, ignore how this doesn't make sense. Bart said that Marge was getting 100,000 a month, and then Lisa had to explain how decimal points work.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I
I
liked
was
it.
really quick. They didn't dwell on it.
No, I liked this whole fantasy sequence with Bart and Lisa. I thought it was really well done. Especially when Bart was like, yeah, I found out about it and I laugh at myself to sleep about it every night. And I was worried about your night giggles. I'm like, that's very funny.
I also kind of like that Homer's like, why did she do it? And Bart says, I don't know if you can handle it. And then it cuts to Marge with Bart's voice saying, your father is an 8-faced butt monster who eats booger sandwiches and sucks. I kind of like that.
I loved it. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like the, make him tell the story properly in the next 3.
Yeah, true. I was getting I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face vibes from that.
And we've talked about, at least other times I've been here, how there's no strangling of Bart anymore because, it's not a cool thing to do. I like that he tries to strangle the glass figment of Bart and then hurts himself.
Yeah.
Also, just a small point at the end, Homer says something like other points of views. I didn't know other people had those. I think it's a funny episode. There's funny by 34 standards.
Yep.
There's a lot of one-liners here, and there's not too many extra beats or anything.
How about you, BT? What other notes have you got?
Let's see. There's a bit where I think Gooby Woo is starting to get Homer to understand what's going on, but then he starts, regressing back into anger, and she goes, oh, Homer, you're spiraling. And he's like, yes, I know, I'm literally flying through the air. I'm like, good Lord, Tim, jeez.
I liked it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I liked it at first, but I feel like it went on too long.
Yeah, it was a bit egregious, but...
We got the whole spectrum of emotions here.
It's just one of those jokes where it's a joke by stating what's happening. It's like,
yeah, sure.
And the other one I have is when they're in hell, there's just a demon dragging a dude down a cheese grater. I'm like, damn, that nasty.
Yeah, that's some creative hell right there.
Yeah.
And yeah, at the beginning when Homer's just yelling incoherently, Cat Lady sidles up to his car and they have a yelling conversation. Absolutely fuck this bit off. It did nothing and was just stupid.
I tested that because the subtitles actually say what they're saying.
Yeah.
If you turn off subtitles in Disney Plus, they still pop up for the scene.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Because I watched a whole episode of subtitles and I was thinking wow, that's a kind of cute little gag they only put in for the closed caption people. I was like, no. They didn't. They didn't care enough.
Yeah, it was weird because it wasn't done in Simpsons font, so I was wondering if it was
I was curious myself.
In the episode, part of the episode. Yeah, anyway. At one point, Homer mentions his favorite bands being Kiss, Bon Jovi, and Men at Work because he likes their work ethic. Yeah, good shout out for our boys at work.
And their one song.
Oh, they had Overkill and...
I don't know that one.
Who Could It Be Now?
Oh, yeah, there's that one.
Yeah.
Two songs.
You don't know Overkill? I can't get to sleep. I think about the situation.
Yeah, that song was on Scrubs.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, 3 songs.
There you go. Speaking of someone who's at least written 3 songs, Brett McKenzie has a little part.
And Lizzo.
And Lizzo. Oh, yeah. Duh. Yeah, Brett McKenzie of Flight of the Conchords helped compose the song for this episode, the Lizzo song.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not have any idea he was on call for The Simpsons, but there you go.
That's an interesting connection.
Yeah, I liked that Raphael was cast as a demon in here. I thought his character's perfect for a hell demon.
He does have so many jobs. Naturally, he just has one in hell.
Yeah. And James C. was playing Pol Pot. James C. His job is basically to be Jackie Chan's vocal impersonator. He played Jackie Chan on the Young Jackie Chan Adventures cartoon or whatever that was. And
yeah.
a lot of times when they need Jackie Chan to do ADR, they'll just get James C. instead.
So you mean they didn't get the real Pol Pot for this? Wow.
Firmly in hell, hanging out with Selleck.
See, I'm just imagining the alternate timeline where season 34 comes out on DVD.
Yeah.
And Matt Groening's like, oh, we had so many great celebrities this season.
Yeah.
Pol Pot, Lizzo.
And Brett McKenzie, sort of.
Yeah.
I like that to get Homer's like doomed to go into a lake of fire or whatever, or lava.
It was boiling blood, I think.
Yeah.
Boiling blood. And then he has to join a line, and he's like, ugh, a line. And he's like, can I get cuts into the guy in front of him? No. that got me, that even in hell, lining up for the lake.
People aren't giving you cuts.
Yeah. And then he gets a buzzer like you're ordering a pub dinner. To come back to his place. Yeah, that's essentially all my notes. I guess it's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just meh, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best of the very best, the episodes which the Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Oh, man. I am close to a silver on this one, but I think I'm just going to fall down slightly to a bronze. I don't know. I don't even know if I back myself there. I might blurt something else later. The BT clause, as they call it.
You're right. Yep.
Speaking of BT clause, BT.
Yeah, I have claws. Yeah, look, I wasn't even sure where I was on this one when I left it. It's making a big, format change. I don't think the storytelling elements of it fit that format. I feel like the pitches we had for it work a whole lot better. I can see why people really dislike this one. I have walked myself back from the edge of the pit and the kicking, but I just don't think I can go higher than a participant. So that is where I shall go.
And Diana.
Okay, I'm happy you said what you said, Elliot, because based on my memory of this episode, before I rewatched it today, I was thinking this is probably like a bronze silver. I don't know, and then I watched it again today, and I'm like, no, this is still good. So I'm going silver. I think this is, like, if I was to rank every silver ever, this probably would be on the lower end, but it's still good. If I knew the person that I was talking to wouldn't get annoyed at very, very specific things, this would be the kind of episode that I'd show to someone and say, hey, The Simpsons can be good sometimes still. Yeah. As long as you're not most people, you'll probably like this.
Are you there? Are you most people?
And also, I kind of, after seeing how much people hate this episode, I kind of want to root for the underdog.
Yeah, there's always that reaction of like, well, now I like it more.
So maybe I could give it a cubic zirconia. Maybe
really fire up the fucking comment sections of our post. Yeah. Well, yeah, overall it'll be a bronze by way of split decision. And
Elliot was right, yay.
Yay! And also the second one of this season, we also gave a silver bronze participant to My Life as a Vlog from earlier in this season.
Oh, yeah, that one's okay. That's a deserving ranking.
Yeah.
So a lot of discourse on this season. I like it.
But yeah, just looking over it, we got a lot of format, shaking up episodes in this, like from Not It and to The Many Saints of Springfield on the lower end. But you know what? It's mostly bronzes getting out in season 34, so maybe The Simpsons is back.
To bronze.
All right. Hey, Diana, thank you so much for joining us today on the Index.
No, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I got to pick an episode that I liked instead of all the trash you've thrown my way. And I am very happy that the two of you didn't hate it.
No, and it was very interesting to talk about, so yeah.
You scared me, Elliot, when you were like, everyone hates this episode. Like, oh, god damn it. Am I just going to be talking to two brick walls that hate it?
There was potential, but I think the diverse range of rankings sort of...
So I was going to say, it's one of those ones where we're just going to encourage people, go watch it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
exactly.
I just remembered which episode Pin Gal is, and by remembered, I'm on the Simpsons wiki. I'm not going to give you any positive or negatives. It's an episode you should watch. It'll be memorable, except for the fact I forgot it. I can't believe I forgot this episode. Sorry, this is actually...
Well, we'll get round to it at some point eventually. But for now, what are you up to, Diana? Where can people find you online or maybe in print form?
Ooh.
Online, I'm still at youtube.com/Freezer94. Freezer like the appliance, 94 like the numbers. At the moment, so I'm still covering just handheld games. I've done a lot of WonderSwan lately, which no one seems to watch, but I don't care. I'm still going to do it. Just wait until I do my Atari Lynx video next year.
I did have to Google what the hell the Wonders was.
Yeah.
By the way, just to go really deep into this nostalgia, I think the first Lynx game I'm covering is going to be Chips Challenge, the old Microsoft Entertainer Pack game.
Yeah. I had an Atari Lynx as a kid, and like it was primarily where I played the game Paperboy. Yeah, we loved our Lynx.
My older brothers had a Lynx, and it was something I was not aware of until long after it was dead.
Yeah. No, it's a really interesting system where they set it up so it was 2-player, but like it's like a handheld, but the second player is where you sort of share the same screen, but you're sitting on opposite sides of the console and you're both holding it at the same time. It's
interesting idea.
Yeah.
And the Lynx also, if I remember correctly, came out in 1989, the same year as the Game Boy. So, like, speaking from technology, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Which is why it lasted, like, 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. It was still Atari.
That's why Game Boy won, obviously. But, you know, for people that like print media, and I think there are some of you out there.
Indeed.
I was just in my second book. There are some British companies called Lost in Cult and Retro Dodo, and they partnered up to do a book on handheld video games. They did one a while ago where I wrote about Donkey Kong and his like Game Boy outings all the way up to the Switch. But this time, it's specifically on handheld games from 1988 till 1995 specifically. And they kind of did that cutoff point because that's like Game Boy, pre-Pokemon. You had the Game Gear and Lynx. But
it was before absolute Game Boy dominance.
So what did you write about for this book?
I wrote about tactical RPGs for the Game Gear.
Awesome.
I've got a niche, by which I mean, I asked, okay, can I write about this thing for Game Boy? And they're like, no, someone else is doing it. And I was like, what about this thing for Game Boy? And they said no. And I went for like 5 separate things. And like, sorry, all the things you want to write about have been taken.
Like picking episodes for this.
There's someone else who's in the book, and it is James from Pods and the Key at Springfield.
Like and subscribe, I was going to say.
Yeah, that's right.
He wrote about an Australian developer who did some Game Boy games back in the day, which includes a Simpsons game, an Itchy and Scratchy game.
Oh, right.
And a WCW game.
Oh, that's why they were in the art like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I had no idea.
It was just like a small studio that pumped out a lot of middling stuff. But it's nice to see Australians do stuff.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll put the links to all that in the show notes as always. And BT, what are we up to?
If you're in the middle of a car crash and have 2 seconds left of your life, you can go to patreon.com/SideQuestStudios where you can get 180 exclusive podcasts right frickin' now.
Yeah, that's right. We're doing a lot of fun things over there. We're even doing experimental podcasts, one-offs, like we just speedrun reviewed the MCU, gave each movie a minute each. But yeah, our flagship show and where you can interact with us on Patreon is you get to choose the movies that we review for starring Springfield. The only catch is they must star a cast member of The Simpsons.
Does Lizzo count as a cast member of The Simpsons? You said she was in some movie once.
Not yet. It's basically, repeated performances and someone that you could go, okay, she is like associated with The Simpsons.
Okay, so when she joins the main cast in season 37.
When she joins the writing staff, maybe. Like,
we have to talk about writing and directing stuff. When Gooby Woo becomes a new cast member of this show from season 36 onwards.
Are you guys actually going to consider maybe like doing like movies written by Simpsons writers?
We have done in the past because they did also happen to star a cast member of The Simpsons. The weird-ass movie Cold Blooded, which had Doris Grau in it, that was written by Wallace Wolodarski.
Also, something like, I think there was on the DVD and Dexterous one, there was the whole episode we kind of covered the Simpsons house that they made and gave away to someone, and the weird saga that followed on that. That was a fun one.
Absolutely. So yeah, you get a bonus podcast every week. Other perks, go check it out. Patreon.com/SideQuestStudios. But for now, that's it for the Simpsons Index for this week. Thank you one more time, Diana.
I'm really happy to be here.
And we'll see you in October.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I get to talk about another episode I like. You're spoiling me.
It's only fair. We've given you some dreck.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you, BT.
One more bitch for the road. Bitch.
Settle down, Aaron Paul. And I'm Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can also check out our other shows, like Pulp Fury Radio, our scripted fiction podcast, which tells all original stories across a range of pulp genres, and Thrones of Game, where we review Game of Thrones in reverse order. Links to those podcasts and more will be available in the show notes. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.